The one with the jam is one of my favourite Joey episodes of Friends. It's not all about Joey, but I think Matt LeBlanc's performance in this episode is absolutely adorable. This is the third episode of the third season of Friends, directed by Kevin Bright. And Monica has decided to come up with a jam plan to help her get over Richard. And Joey's very excited about this because Joey loves jam. And basically, in every scene, pretty much, Joey is eating jam. And it made me really want jam. So that aspect of it I loved. We also have Matt LeBlanc wearing the arm sling because he did actually dislocate his shoulder in the previous episode of Friends while filming it. I like that they wrote that in, but obviously it's a shame that that had to happen, but it did give us some comedy in the opening. Most of the episode does focus on Monica and the fact that when her jam plan doesn't work, she comes up with an alternative plan. But I'll discuss that with a spoiler warning in a moment, but I think they handled that really sensitively, but I'll go into it in a moment. We also have Ross's hug and roll, where Ross teaches Chandler the hug and roll trick. It's still so peculiar seeing Chandler with Janice. Part of me likes them together and part of me really doesn't. It's very peculiar. However, I did enjoy that in this episode. And then we have David Arquette. David Arquette guest appearances in this one as Phoebe's stalker, a character called Malcolm, except he's not actually Phoebe's stalker, he's Ursula's stalker. And Phoebe spends a lot of time with him, and it's slightly peculiar. I couldn't ever imagine being even slightly romantically involved with somebody my sister has been with, let alone, a twin. If I had a twin, I think that would just be a really strange situation because I'd always be worrying that they'd be thinking about my twin if I had a twin. But clearly, it doesn't seem to be an issue for Phoebe. But I really liked, Malcolm's role in this. I thought David Arquette was brilliant, particularly the scene when they're in Central Perk and he's reading from his journal. I really liked how that played out. I thought that worked really, really well. So with Monica's story, I'll get in with a few spoiler thoughts as I explain ultimately what her next decision was and how they handled it. So spoilers from now. When the jam plan didn't work, Monica's new plan was babies. And she decides to go to a sperm bank and become a mother. And it is, on the one hand, difficult to watch because clearly she wants a child and she's further away from that now than she was, a few weeks ago when she was still with Richard. But at the same time, I think it does raise the question of, should you rush into this kind of thing? And of course you shouldn't. You shouldn't have the decision one day when your jam plan fails and then the next day go down to the sperm bank. And I think what Joey did, whether he intended it or not, part of me thinks Joey did know what he was doing when he was dissuading Monica in a very tactful way. I thought was really sweet, and just seeing him supporting her was really lovely. Joey isn't really a shoulder Monica cries on very much. That's not his role in their friend group for Monica. But in this episode it was, and I think it worked really well. But I think the episode might also provide some comfort for anybody who's going through something similar, because I imagine there are a lot of people who get to a certain age, they haven't got children, but they really want children, and they have to kind of make this decision of, do they wait a bit longer or do they take the plunge as Monica was going to and go through it as a single parent. And I think the episode handled what is potentially a very sensitive subject for some people in a very tactful and very moving way. And I enjoyed that aspect of it. Definitely a really solid episode. The highlight for me is, without question, Joey. Just every time Joey was in it, he was just adorable. My favourite line is when he says, "There's no more jam," and the look on his face is just heartbreaking. Very, very sweet. It's also nice to see Joey, on the one hand, being very childlike and just wanting jam, and then being this supportive shoulder for Monica and helping her to see things through a clearer perspective. And I think that was a nice way to show different sides of Joey. Of course, it started off with him jumping on the bed like a child, so definitely a very interesting one for Joey. Really great episode. Always one I will be very, very happy to watch.